Welcome to David Cooper Ministries. Thank you for joining us for another life-changing, mind-inspiring message from Empower Church. Now here is today's sermon from Empower Church. The Blessing of a Seed by Mark Hudson.
And it was about the blessing of a seed. So imagine you've been given the smallest seed in the world, and you've been given the opportunity to plant that seed, and which obviously it grows into something far beyond than your expectations. Some say the smallest seed is the mustard seed, and some say it's the orchid seed. The orchid seed, which can produce up to 3 million seeds in one pod. Whatever it is, both of those produce far greater than the actual seed itself. You know, if we look in the natural, we know that any seed in the right conditions will grow into something far greater than it is. Now, I'm no gardener, and I don't want to be a gardener, but even I know that you need the right conditions, the right temperature, the right environment for that seed to germinate and to grow. So if we look at it as a faith community, a seed means the beginning of something. It means a start of a new thing. So a seed can be something that it could be an encouraging word that you've got for someone that can be passed on. It can be an actual gift, like Heather was just saying, the gift of baking to the builders via our house. Eventually gets there. You know, if we plant that seed with the right motive and the right attitude and with faith, this will not only bring a blessing to those who we sow that seed to, but it also can bring a blessing to our own lives. You know, they say that we reap what we sow. And if that's the case, then, if we do give a seed in that faith, I wonder what the blessing from that would come back to us. You know, I want to encourage you that God doesn't just make a promise to us. He also gives the seed of that promise, which he then gives you, that can produce and produce everything that is in that promise. In Matthew, we see there are many stories that Jesus told the disciples and his crowd about seeds. And one of them is in chapter 13 of Matthew, and it's a story of the farmer and the parable of the sower. So I'm reading from chapter verse 13, from verse 1. Later that same day, Jesus left the house and sat by the side of the lake. The large crowd soon gathered around him, so he got into a boat. Then he sat there and taught as the people stood on the shore. He told many stories in the form of parables, which such is this one. Listen, he said, a farmer went out to plant some seeds. As he scattered them across the field, some seeds fell on the footpath, and the birds came and ate them. Other seeds fell in shallow soil and underlying rocks. The seeds sprouted quickly because the soil was shallow, but the plants soon wilted under the hot sun. And since they did not have deep roots, they died. Other seeds fell amongst thorns and grew up and choked out the tender plants. Still other seeds fell on fertile soil, and they produced a crop that was 30, 60, even 100 times as much as had been planted. And then later on we see Jesus explaining this parable about what it means, about that those who hear the word of God as it speaks to their lives and it grows faith into their hearts and their lives. It's like the seeds that fall on the fertile soil. There will be opportunities that we have, that we can sow a seed that will bring far more than you expect, because it's God that breathes on that seed. And our part is to just see that opportunity that there is in that and let God do the rest. And like the farmer in the parable, we can choose where to sow the seed. Maybe it's an encouraging word for someone, or a scripture that has been on our hearts so that we feel to give to someone. It could actually be an initial gift whether it's a seed of finance for a family or a situation. Be encouraged that as we sow that seed, whatever it is, God will breathe on that. We just need to have the faith to sow that seed and see what God does with that. You know, sometimes we can think of a blessing of that seed in more of a material sense. You know, if I sow this, what will the blessing be? What will God reward us with? Will it be a tangible? Will it be something monetary? Will it be a situation that grows our finances? And unfortunately, the church, and just to let you know, when I refer to the church, it's talking in broad sense. It's not talking us as a church. But unfortunately, the church in some areas of societies, they love to preach the prosperity card. You know, if you just give into this ministry, if you just sow $100 into this, God will give you the increase in your finances. God will give you that job promotion. God will give you everything you want. I believe that's not why we sow the seed, and that's not what sowing is all about. But unfortunately, sometimes as the church hears us, they expect, well, if I sow this, what will God give in return? We need to understand that that is not why we sow a seed into someone's life or a situation. It's because we see the potential of what God will do with that seed. You know, we may think, gosh, it's so small, I've just got this. But God sees our heart in sowing that seed. Now, I'm not saying that God can bless us with finances or that job promotion. Sure, that does happen. Or someone paying our shopping in the line of the shopping supermarket as you stand there. But it's the other blessings that we tend not to see, that are less tangible, that come out of from sowing a seed. So what are these blessings? And what do they look like? They say that, thankfulness is a seed of joy. So does that mean if we go around having a thankful attitude, as we sow the seed, the blessing of the seed will bring us joy? Maybe. You know, if we're thankful, doesn't that just lift our spirits, which then gives us a sense of joy? You know, last week, one of the songs that we sang at the end of the worship set was The Goodness of God. You know, I won't sing it because I know where my talents are. You know, but part of that song is, and all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I'm able, I'm going to sing of the goodness of God. This is one blessing of a seed. A God that is so, so good, so faithful, that we can then sow that seed and saying, God is so good. I'm so thankful. As you sow that seed and just see the goodness of God in that. As you sow that seed to that person or that situation and be thankful and see what God does. And there are seeds of opportunities that we can either choose to take and see what God does with them. Or like the seeds in the parable, we can cast them aside and think, that's not really for me. Maybe God gives you an opportunity to speak into someone's life. The opportunity to reveal who God is and who he is in your life. That testimony is a seed that can bring life. There are many opportunities that we can be given to either sow into someone's life or into something that we know that God will bless and in turn be a blessing to us. So what is your seed today? Is it an encouraging word? Is it a gift that you can give or time that you can give someone in need? Whatever it is, be encouraged that the blessing from that seed may look different from what you expect. It may just be as simple as bringing you joy, bringing you peace, Or just a day that nothing goes wrong. Wouldn't that be nice? Just having a peaceful day. That is a blessing. You know, that seed that you hold in your hand, you might think is so small. What will it do? It won't make a change. Yet, if you allow God to take that seed and use it, what is the potential? What are the blessings that you'll be able to speak into and God speaks into? Not only those who sow into, but also your own walk of faith. You know, God doesn't look at the size of the seed that you have. He looks at your heart. Everything you are in his eyes. Sometimes we can have that focus on, you know, I don't have much. I don't have anything. What can I give? I want to give more, but this is all I've got. Yet God sees your heart in sowing that seed, the smallest of seed, and he will do the rest. Growing that seed into something bigger, something far more than you could ever expect. You know, in John chapter 6, we see the story of feeding the 5,000, and we see this boy who had 2 fish and 5 loaves. So I want to just read from verse 8 here. Another of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many? Jesus said, have the people sit down. There are plenty of grass in that place. And they sat down. Around about 5,000 men there were, and obviously more than that. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to them, to those who had seated as much as they wanted. And he did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets of pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. You know, looking at the crowd and just looking at the mass, the boy was probably thinking, this is all I have. So what difference is it going to make? It's not going to feed 5,000. It might feed 5 or 10. But looking at it, yes, it was a small seed, but there was no limit to God. And Jesus took it and gave thanks. You know, even Jesus was thankful. He was thanking God. Thank you for this. And he made it into a miracle. Feeding thousands and then had more left over. You know, sometimes we can put limits on what we think our small gift can offer or will bring. Yet there are no limits with God. Yes, the seed may be small that we have, but if we let God take it, who knows what it will do. You will see could bring the biggest change to someone's life, meaning so much in their darkness that turns into light, or their fear that turns into peace as you sow that seed and let God breathe onto it. Sadness into joy. Isn't that a blessing of the seed? As you see that person become joyful, which in turn, I hope, brings us joy as well. You know, a blessing of a seed can also bring us access to something which is far beyond our expectations, or doors that can open. You're thinking, how did that happen? And how was that possible? I only sowed this seed, but gosh, this opportunity has come about, or this door's opened. That initial seed that God takes can open his doors. It can bring you access to places and to people that bring across your path that you're thinking, gosh, how did that happen? That is a blessing of a seed. As you know, as a church, you will be aware that over the past many years we've been supporting conductive education. And this has been in collaboration obviously with CFT, the community trust of this church, which obviously if you don't know, you will know now, I'm the manager of it. And Chris works also for the trust. And there have been ways that we've been giving over the past years. Christmas gifts, food, we're obviously asking for food again for this Christmas. And recently we did 35 parcels, I think, and bulk food and other things. And as part of CFT, we've been working behind the scenes and supporting this organisation with the collaboration of the church. And I know that the blessing of that seed that CFT has planted, along with Empower Church, you know, at times has thinking, gosh, wow, look at the blessing that has happened, that we've seen, the opportunities, the things that have happened, doors that have opened, in that sense, favours that have come our way. And I believe it's because as a combined organisation and a community of faith, the initial seed that we planted many years ago, over 3 years ago, the seed, which was simple, and it's just was we need to do something. When we saw the country go through, obviously, the COVID pandemic. And even in recent weeks, another opportunity has come up that is focusing around our new initiative. If you haven't seen it, go on Facebook, like us, share it, spam it out. It's on the members page, I think, as well as of the church. And that's the initiative, the Goodness Market, which will become a blessing to those in our community, wider community, but also in conductive education, facing around the cost of living and all those kind of things. You know, we all have a seed to give. We all have something that we can share, whether it's a word, whether it's a gift. And be encouraged. Words are powerful. They can either hurt or they can heal. They can wound or they can restore. So what is that seed that we are sowing into someone's life? That also brings opportunities for God to move and to God to impact their life. We need to remember that the harvest is much greater than the seed. And just like in the natural, when a farmer plants a field of seed, he expects the crop and the yield of that to exceed what he's planted. Far greater. So when we have that seed that we sow in faith, be encouraged that the harvest is so much greater. The blessing may come in unexpected ways. It may come, the blessing may be, yes, you see that in a tangible way, but it may be as simple that it brings you joy in your day, and that is a blessing. I think at times that the church expects blessings, that something to be tangible, something that we can hold on to, but it's not about what we get. It's about what God does with those seeds that we scatter, that we sow. That we can say, wow, what an awesome God, what a great God, and with every breath, the goodness of God, how faithful he has been, and faithful he is in that situation. So today, what is your seed that can be sown into someone's life or into a situation? Everyone here has something to offer. Everyone here has a seed. It could be as simple as a word of encouragement, something that will not only bring a blessing to those you sow into, but an opportunity to express the goodness of God and his faithfulness to those we meet. I just want to share a short story about reaping and sowing and planting a seed that brings a blessing. A Scottish farmer many, many years ago, Mr. Fleming, was out trying to make a living for his family when he heard a cry from a nearby muddy pond. And as he dropped his tools and he ran towards the pond, he saw a terrified boy stuck in the middle of this mucky blood pond. He was screaming and struggling, trying to free himself. Now, the farmer saved that boy that day from what could have been a slow and terrifying death. And the next day, a fancy carriage pulled up to the farmer's small surroundings and meagre surroundings. And a well-dressed nobleman stepped out and introduced himself as the father of the boy that Mr. Fleming had saved that day, and then the previous day. "I want to repay you," he said. "You've saved my son's life. No, I can't accept, what you want to give me for what I did." Rejecting the offer. At that moment, the actual farmer's son came out of the door of this home. And the nobleman asked, "Is this your son?" "Yes," he said proudly. "Okay, so I'll make you a deal. Let me take him and give him a good education. If the boy is like his father, he'll grow into a man you can be proud of." And so the agreement was that the son would go with the nobleman. And later, Fleming's son graduated from St Mary's Hospital Medical School in London. And he went on to become the noted Sir Alexander Fleming, the discoverer of penicillin. And many years afterwards, the nobleman's own son was stricken by pneumonia. And of course, what saved him? Penicillin. And the name of the nobleman was Lord Randolph Churchill. And of course, his son was Sir Winston Churchill. So that seed that man gave him, the boy, turned out to save his own son. That is a blessing. Today, I want to encourage you that the blessing of a seed can be as simple as experiencing peace or joy. It could be something far beyond your expectations. Yes, it could be. You go into work tomorrow and you get a pay rise. Wouldn't that be nice? But it could just be as simple as just being thankful for a God who is faithful and you sowing that seed. Sowing that seed in love, sowing that seed in faithfulness, in faith. And let God breathe onto that seed. And I want to encourage you, as you do, expect the harvest to be so much greater than the seed as you sow that into someone's life or a situation. So that's my thought I had. I've had that thought about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and as it's kind of a side note, the pastors rang me a few weeks ago when the Aussie roster was getting done. And I had the thought, I thought, oh, well, that's fine, it's a thought. I thought, oh yeah, no, they won't ask me to speak this month. And so David rang and said, oh, can you speak on the such and such date? And I was thinking, Oh, I could do. Yeah, I could do. No, funny that I've got a word, you know. So it's amazing how it comes about. So if God gives you something, pass it on, pass that seed on to someone, because you don't know what it will do and what it will impact in their lives. And yeah, let's expect a blessing from God, but it could just be, as I said before, simple as finding joy, finding peace in your day. That is far greater than receiving monetary value. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Empower Church's latest sermon by Mark Hudson. If you benefited from today's latest message, please subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when we launch our next uplifting sermon. Be sure to share with a friend and don't miss out on all the latest episodes.